McGrath was right. Manchester United was the only club in the Premier League I've not scored against. And it was, I think it was 15 games before I scored against Manchester United. And this Paul McGrath, very shy, never said a word on the pitch and all that. So after that...
Ian Rush brutally exposed 7 footballers he couldn't stand, and the story goes way deeper than expected. From tactical warfare across Europe to a 2024 AI musical attacking fellow Liverpool legends, this is Out of Bounds. He was shite, except it's 7 people or forces that pushed Rush over the edge across decades. An AI-voiced version of Rush spent 90 minutes in a Hamilton-style musical attacking Jamie Carragher and Robbie Fowler for turning their backs on him. The line that cut deepest: they never called Old Rushie back. No mate-to-mate hello. But how does a Liverpool legend end up creating AI musical rants? Who else clashed with this man? And what drove a clinical finisher absolutely mad? Quick one. If you're genuinely enjoying this out-of-bounds story, tap hype on the video so I know to make more like it. Number 7. Forget individual people for a moment. Rush fought against what he calls overcoaching, managers who overcomplicate the game with boring drills and rigid frameworks. This is the philosophical spine connecting every clash. At Liverpool, Paisley and Moran banned players from calling for the ball, forcing instinctive movement and a sixth sense for positioning, 5-a-sides and quick thinking. But as football evolved, coaches imposed micromanaged systems and endless tactical bureaucracy. Rush despised it. Overthinking makes strikers worse, he believed. At Juventus under Dino Zoff, he noticed immediately. Completely different to Liverpool, all we did was 5-a-sides there. Hands-on coaching at Juventus killed something essential. That belief becomes the thread connecting everything. Every person on this list represents that violation. Overcomplicating, removing freedom, crushing instinct. Number 6. George Graham at Leeds represents the most insulting form of that overcoaching. Positional disrespect. Rush joined Leeds in his later career, initially thriving under Howard Wilkinson's management. When George Graham arrived in 1996, he brought authoritarian, safety-first management that transformed the club. What Graham did was shocking. He took Ian Rush, Liverpool's record goalscorer, the greatest poacher in British football, and moved him to right wing, a striker built entirely around timing runs into the box and 8-yard finishes. Graham wanted him on the flank. Rush felt profoundly disrespected. Graham ran a regime with volcanic rage, enormous fear factor, and rigid defensive drills. No space for individual expression. Tony Yeboah threw his shirt at Graham and left. Rush burned with the same resentment. The Leeds nightmare. Not a disagreement, but a personal insult. Taking football's finest finisher and asking him to play wide. That's contempt. Number 5. Vinnie Jones and Wimbledon's crazy gang represented something existential. If Graham was disrespectful, Wimbledon was an assault on everything Rush believed football should be. He's called Plough Lane the most hateful ground he ever visited. Not tough, hateful. Because Wimbledon criminalized skill itself, destroyed it. They didn't play football as Rush understood it. Physical bullying disguised as sport. Anti-football. The objective was intimidating opponents, creating chaos where tactical understanding became irrelevant. For a player whose game relied on timing and elegance, Plough Lane became psychological torture. Technical ability meant nothing there. Officials allowed the crazy gang to foster an environment where football's beauty simply wasn't permitted. Rush understood something watching this unfold. Technical skill was being criminalized. The game itself was being attacked. He could handle physical contact. What destroyed him was being told his greatest strengths didn't matter anymore. Number 4. Rino Marchesi at Juventus in 1987 represents a different Suffocation entirely. Rush arrived as the world's most clinical finisher, signed to one of Europe's great clubs. But Marchesi's Juventus operated on Catenaccio principles, defensive solidity above all else. Everyone boxed in. No offensive fluidity. It was a cage. Marchesi's constant instruction was drop deep, defend, hold position. Rush was removed from goal-scoring areas. Marchesi declared it publicly. Rush does not fit in. He does not communicate. But the barrier masked deeper philosophy, pure philosophy. At Liverpool, training emphasized 5-a-sides and instinctive movement. At Juventus, it was rigid positional drills, boring according to Rush, tactical frameworks turning football into chess. Despite being asked to defend more than attack, despite suffocating structure, Rush still scored 14 goals. Top scorer. The system strangled his expression, yet his finishing dominated. He finished frustrated, describing the approach as counterintuitive and joyless. Marchese was nice, but the philosophy was suffocating. Number 3. Bob Paisley's psychological gambit complicated everything because their relationship wasn't straightforward betrayal. Early in his Liverpool career, Rush struggled significantly. Signed for a record fee from Chester City, he endured a prolonged goal drought, questioning his place. Paisley, legendary for psychological manipulation, decided to ignite a fire underneath him. He called Rush in and said he was being transfer listed, out, away from Anfield. Rush's reaction was incandescent rage, pure personal anger and hurt. He felt abandoned by the manager who supposedly believed in him, nearly departed in fury. But Paisley had never intended selling him. It was a psychological trick designed to provoke Rush into being more selfish in front of goal. It worked. Rush started scoring immediately. But during those weeks of anger, he genuinely hated Paisley. The method felt cruel and personal. Much later, Rush appreciated the ruthlessness elite management requires. He understood the genius. But that hatred was real. That's what Paisley extracted. Pure, raw anger as fuel. Number 2. Robbie Fowler became tangled in something much bigger than football disagreement. The 2024 to 2025 Melwood dispute placed Rush and Fowler on opposite sides of a legal and commercial battle. Rush's camp, connected to Singapore-based Irama, sought developing Melwood Training Ground, Liverpool's historic home and legendary facility. Other stakeholders, including Fowler, publicly distanced themselves from the project. The legal battle turned toxic and public in ways no one expected. Rush felt fundamentally abandoned. His fellow Red, another Liverpool legend who played alongside him, turned his back when solidarity mattered. That sense of abandonment festered into something extraordinary. A 90-minute AI-generated musical in Hamilton style emerged. The AI voice, pronouncing his name as I in Rush, spent the production attacking Fowler and Carragher for silence and absence during his fight. One line captured everything essential. They never called Old Rushie back. No mate-to-mate hello. This wasn't anger about tactics or coaching. This was hurt about loyalty and brotherhood. Number 1. Jamie Carragher became central to this AI musical storm. When Carragher publicly distanced himself from Rush's Irama project, it felt like the final humiliation, not disagreement, but active rejection from someone he trusted. The musical, released under Creative Commons, allowing anyone to remix it, became an outlet for Rush's frustration. It attacked not just Carragher, but lawyers, judges, The Athletic, the Football Supporters Association, everyone he felt had betrayed him during his legal battle. This was digital age legacy warfare. But it reveals something deeper about Rush's perspective on all 7 clashes. Whether Marchese's boring drills, Graham's disrespect, the crazy gang's brutality, Paisley's initial betrayal, Fowler's silence, or Carragher's public distance, it's always been about the same core need: respect, freedom, understanding, the need to be valued for who he is and what he brings to the game. All 7 figures represent moments where Rush felt his instinct, freedom, and value were being stripped away or dismissed. From plough lane criminalizing skill to AI musicals in 2025, the striker's discontent has been relentless and uncompromising. But that refusal to accept disrespect, that refusal to be diminished or forgotten, also made him legendary. Like and subscribe for more on football's uncompromising characters.